Tawus, who's one of the narrators, rahimahullah, he once said to his son, did you make this supplication your prayer? He said, no. So he said, get up and repeat the salah. Not to say that it's a fard in a salah, but like when you're trying to teach someone how important this is, make this part of every salah. I don't care how rushed you are.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
But then comes Salah Ibrahimiyya and any dua that you want. Now, let's start with Salah Ibrahimiyya, which is Salah on the Prophet ﷺ, and is the best Salah, the best way to send salawat in the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, there's a wisdom of this with Ibrahim a.s. is mentioned as well. But I want to start with the coherence of the Salah here. إِنَّكَ حَمِيدٌ مَجِيدٌ. Okay? You'll say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad, kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. Innaka hamidun majid. Okay, you'll praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You'll say, Allah is worthy of all praise and glory. So, oh Allah, send your peace and blessings upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family, as you sent it on Ibrahim and his family. Innaka hamidun majid. You are worthy of all praise and all glory. Remember in Al-Fatiha, Athna alayya abdi, majadani abdi. Okay, so this encompassing praise and glorification now shows up at the end of Salah too. I want you to connect the beginning to the end in this regard. Second thing I want you to pay attention to are when we say Ali Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. First of all, we already established that the Salah of Allah is praise. So we're asking Allah to praise our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to bestow His praises, further praises upon him. And we are praised in the process of that. But are we asking Allah then to send His prayers upon the family of the Prophet ﷺ? So if this meaning is speaking about Ahlul Bayt, it fits, the people of the household. The Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, أَحِبُّ اللَّهَ لِمَا يَفْذُوكُم مِّن نِعَمِهِ وَحِبُّونِي بِحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَأَحِبُّ أَهْلَ بَيْتِي لِحُبِّي. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, love Allah for what He provides you of His blessings. And love me due to the love of Allah. And love the people of my house due to the love of. And so we love the family of the Prophet ﷺ because of the love of the Prophet ﷺ. And we love the Prophet ﷺ because of the love of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that love is a very specific type of love and reverence that we have. And it has to exist in the heart of the believer. Some of the scholars, they expanded the meaning of Ali Muhammad in this regard to include the believers as well, al-muttaqeen, and those that follow, because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the closest people to me are al-muttaqeen, are the pious ones, wherever they are and whenever they arise, whoever they are, right? So that it transcends that love of the Prophet ﷺ, hum ahbabi, that they are my brothers, they are my loved ones. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst them who believe in the Prophet ﷺ, even though they never have seen him. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us amongst them. Allahumma ameen. Now, as far as the inclusion of Ibrahim a.s., there's a coherence part to it, and then there is an expansion part of it when you look at the person of Ibrahim a.s. The cohesion part of it is Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, Rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu alaykum ahlal bayt innahu hamidun majid. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about Ibrahim a.s., the mercy of Allah and His blessings be upon you, people of His house. Surely He is worthy of all praise and glory. So some of the scholars say that the inclusion of Kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim, that this beautiful praise that you bestowed upon Ibrahim a.s. and his family, let it be bestowed upon Muhammad sallallahu and his family or his people as well. So there's the cohesion part, but then there's something to expand from this. Think about the centrality of Ibrahim a.s. in the religion. The centrality of Ibrahim, who wanted salah established, and now here he's a part of us establishing our salah, sending peace upon Ibrahim a.s. He's in a barren desert saying, Rabbana liyuqimu salah. Let my descendants establish the prayer. And now here we are, the descendants or the followers of his greatest descendant being Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we're sending salah upon Ibrahim alayhi salam. And so there's that beautiful connection that we have with Ibrahim alayhi salam. He is central to our Hajj, one pillar of Islam. He is central to our salah as well in this regard. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His peace and blessings upon him and allow us all to be joined together with those who Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased with. الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. And certainly Ibrahim alayhi salam is Abu al-Anbiya, the father of the prophets, and he is amongst those, the highest of those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. Then you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the best du'as for yourself. Now, generally speaking, the du'as for talab, how do you divide the du'as before the tasleem and the du'as after tasleem? Because you're going to make du'as and dhikr before you say Assalamu alaikum and then after you say Assalamu alaikum. Generally speaking, it appears that the du'as for talab, the du'as for asking, are to be taken before the tasleem. Ask Allah for all of your hawa'ij, as Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, for all of your needs at that point. Carry it with you to the end of your salah. And the end of your salah, there's a very special period after you've praised Allah and you've sent salawat. That's the best time to ask Allah for anything. In general, with your du'a, hamd and salawat go into your du'a. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that point. And then after tasleem, the narrations tend to suggest adhkar, remembrances, more so than talab. Even though, of course, you can make du'a for talab as well after the tasleem. There's no problem with it at all. It's just about what's the best time to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to do so. So for example, when the Prophet ﷺ said to Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anhu, Ya Mu'adh, I love you. And don't forget to say at the end of every salah, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husna ibadatik. Oh Allah, enable me to properly remember you, to properly thank you, and to worship you with excellence. You're asking Allah to enable you. Is this before the tasleem or after the tasleem? Some of the scholars, and I believe this is the more correct opinion, say this is before the tasleem, because the du'a of talab, it's the du'a of asking. So you actually would make this du'a before you say Assalamu alaikum, right? So take any du'as that you want at that time. But you'll notice that what the Prophet ﷺ would do, and it again connects the end of the salah to the beginning of the salah, is he used this time for isti'adah, seeking refuge in Allah from very specific things. In the beginning of the salah, the Prophet ﷺ sought refuge in Allah from who? Shaitan. At the end of the salah, so many of the companions have narrated this. There's so much tawatur. There are multiple narrations of the Prophet ﷺ seeking refuge in Allah from what? He would say, and he would teach the companions not to rise from their salah until they would say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabi jahannam wa a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr wa a'udhu bika min fitnat al-masih al-dajjal wa a'udhu bika min fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat. There are multiple narrations that sound very similar in this regard, but the concepts are the same. So you would seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a'udhu bika min fitnat al-nar, aw fitnat jahannam, right? Aw min adhab al-nar, from the punishment of the fire. So you'd seek refuge in Allah from the fire. Then he'd seek refuge in Allah from the grave, the punishment of the grave, qabr. Then he'd seek refuge in Allah from ad-Dajjal. Okay, Masih ad-Dajjal. The greatest fitna on earth is ad-Dajjal, right? Then, and it really makes you think about, like, this is 1400 years ago. We are objectively closer to the time of Dajjal, and you live in Dajjal at times. So how much should we be making dua for Allah to protect us from the Dajjal, right? And then he would seek refuge in Allah from fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat, from the trials of life and death. And there are other narrations too, but subhanAllah, I actually want to say here that Tawus, who's one of the narrators, rahimahullah, he once said to his son, did you make this supplication in your prayer? He said, no. So he said, get up and repeat the salah. Not to say that it's a fard in a salah, but like when you're trying to teach someone how important this is, make this part of every salah. I don't care how rushed you are. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من عذاب النار وأعوذ بك من عذاب القبر ومن فتنة المحيا والممات ومن شر فتنة المسيح الدجال, or something along those lines. Seek refuge in Allah from these four things, as the Prophet ﷺ always would. You also see that the Prophet ﷺ would say in some narrations, اللهم إني أعوذ بك من البخل وأعوذ بك من الجبن وأعوذ بك من أن أرد إلى أرض العمر. So the Prophet ﷺ would say, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from cowardice. I seek refuge in you from stinginess. I seek refuge in you from feebleness, the difficulties of old age. Also the Prophet ﷺ, one narration, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ma'tham wal-maghra. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from sin and debt. The point is that you can go as specific as you want in what you're seeking refuge in Allah from. So you started off seeking refuge in Allah from the shaitan, seek refuge in Allah from the things the Prophet ﷺ taught us to seek refuge from. And finally, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The tasleem.